shoot, 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 shoot. Welcome, guys. It's your boy Ren City, the host of Sports and Shorts of Sorts. Not a usual episode here. We're doing a WNBA post-Olympic break recap / preview, whatever you want to call it. We're doing it. The WNBA, like I said, it's been a while since I broke it down, and it's returning from its Summer Olympic break in Paris, where it resumed yesterday, Thursday, August 15th, and the season concludes in a little over a month. The last game's being played September 19th. So with that being said, let's see how things look kind of going into the break, what happened at the Olympics, and what's going to be happening to end the season. So before the Summer Olympic pause, the WNBA had their All-Star game, and being that it is an Olympic year, USA Basketball faced off with the WNBA team. Second time that the WNBA went to this format. They had done it just 3 years prior in the postponed Tokyo Summer Olympics. So this was just like 3 years ago, the WNBA team would stun the USA basketball team before they go to the Olympics, and it was the same culprit who took them down last time. One of my favorite players to watch in the league, Dallas Wings star Arike Ogbongbowale, game high 34 points, 6 dimes. She was lights out. It was awesome watching her catch fire like that. The skills contest and three-point contest winner, Atlanta Dreams' Alicia Gray. She was the first person to ever do that, by the way. Scored 16 off the bench for Team WNBA. A lot of eyes were on the exciting rookies of the All-Star team. Chicago's Angel Reese of Chicago Sky, of course, had her usual double-double, scoring 12 points, 11 rebounds off the bench. And Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark started the game, only had 4 points on 0 for 7 shooting from downtown, but she did have 10 dimes, showcasing why she is the current leader in assists in the WNBA. On the losing end for Team USA, New York Liberty's Brianna Stewart had a game high 31 points and 10 rebounds for the double-double. Las Vegas Aces superstar Asia Wilson, 22 boards, 6 boards, 3 steals, 3 dimes. But like I said, Team WNBA took it. And like I said, it happened the last time this played out, and it didn't seem to bother Team USA as they went on to win the gold. And if you knew what happened at the Olympics, something similar happened in this one. So the Olympics in Paris, and if you listen to my regular podcast, Sports and Shorts of Sorts, you heard me going off about how great the basketball was in the Olympics, and Team USA was obviously the talk of the tournament. They'd go on to win their 8th consecutive Olympic gold medal, going unbeaten in the tournament, keeping their Olympic unbeaten streak to 61 games, an amazing record that's probably not talked about enough, to be honest. And like I said, the USA did go unbeaten, but unlike some past years, they were tested pretty good in this tournament, especially that gold medal game. A badly mishandled last possession by the French, where a late pass by Marina Johannes, who was really struggling to find her shot in that game, by the way. She found Gabby Williams, who forced up a quick shot and had it go in, but her feet were clearly inside the three-point line. This wasn't like a Kevin Durant in the playoff situation where it was a toe. This was very inside the line, and the U.S. won 67-66, the closest final they have had in that winning streak. But kudos to the French team that ended up with the silver medal. They have young stars all over that team, and one to watch for who didn't play a lot in the tournament, 18-year-old Dominique Malonga. She is Tony Parker, who played with San Antonio Spurs, said she's like the female Victor Wembanyama. So that's pretty high praise, and it's interesting to see how she develops. I mentioned Gabby Williams of France. She was lights out in this tournament, and she has played in the WNBA, and many want her to come back, but she's still playing in Europe. And the WNBA prioritization rule is a really big reason why. Gabby Williams has expressed her frustration about this rule, stating that, players playing overseas, they have to be in training camp in the WNBA by a certain date. And if not, they are ineligible to play that season. And the way the scheduling's kind of worked with players playing in Europe and the timing of the WNBA starting, it hasn't always worked in their benefit. So now you're keeping some of the best players in the world out of the league, which cannot be good for marketing. They got to find a way to make this better. But That is why the creation of the 3-on-3 women's basketball in North America league is on its way by Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. It's called Unrivaled, and it debuts in January 2025, keeping players from having to go abroad. But we'll go back to Gabby Williams. She was one of the All-Star 5 named to the tournament. Also on that list was the MVP of the tournament, Team USA's Asia Wilson, who averaged 18.7 points per game, 10.2 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks. Her teammate Breanna Stewart was also on that list. Joining them was Alana Smith from Australia. She plays for the Minnesota Lynx in the WNBA. And rounding out the top 5 was Belgium's Emma Mieseman. I must say, even though they lost to Australia in the bronze medal game, Belgium was one of the most exciting teams of this tournament for me. Mieseman is a baller out there, inside, outside. We know she's played in the WNBA. She was no slouch, taking home the 2019 Finals MVP as the Mystics beat the Sun. And looking at her career numbers in the WNBA, other than her rookie season, she was over double digits every year. So she is very exciting to watch the whole tournament. And she does this despite only have 50% of her hearing. She plays with special aids to help her hear. And yeah, a phenomenal player that the WNBA is missing on having for sure. Her Belgian teammate, 31-year-old rookie for the Mystics, Julie Van Loo, was also a shining star in the tournament for Belgium. I'm looking forward to seeing her more in the Mystics to end the season. I mentioned Alana Smith in Australia. They did take home the bronze, and the player that clinched the medal for the Opals was Seattle Storm's Ezzy Magbegor. I know Smith made the top 5 squad, but without Magbegor, Australia wouldn't have medaled. 30 points, 13 boards, 3 assists, 3 blocks in that bronze medal clinching game. There were also some surprises in the Olympic play. Nigeria making it to the quarterfinals for the first time ever. They even put up a good fight in the loss to the Americans. The other quarterfinalists, Germany, Spain, Serbia, all played well at different times during this tournament. It was a very forgettable Olympics for Team Canada. The inability to knock down shots from long range and some really bad cold stretches led to the Canadians going winless in this tournament. Hopefully they can use it as an experience to improve in time for the 2028 games in LA. But overall, not very good to see what happened with Canada there. But the tournament in a whole, in a nutshell, I guess, it was great. I think the gap is closing on the Americans even more, which will make exciting. Like, look what we had on the men's side, and the women's final was just as exciting, even more exciting. Like, I'm loving it. And with the Olympics wrapped up, like I said, we've returned to the WNBA. For some players, the break felt like a reset. For those players that deep runs in the Olympics, so they may feel a little more worn down. And with that combination, maybe we'll see some surprises to wrap up the season. But let's start in the East with the team that has the best record in the WNBA, the New York Liberty. They entered the break with a 21-4 record. Their head coach, Sandy Brondello, fresh off a bronze medal, coaching her native Australia. The Liberty won 4 in a row before the pause, and last year's MVP, Breanna Stewart, missed 3 of those last 4 games. Lainey Hamilton has missed some games before the break, and she'll continue to miss more, still battling that knee injury. And this team does feature players who played in the Olympics. Obviously, Team USA's Breanna Stewart, who I mentioned made the Olympic top 5. Her Olympic teammate Sabrina Ionescu, who didn't always get tons of minutes, but I think her installment into the game in the third quarter of that gold medal game really swung it for the Americans. Nothing flashy on the box score, but her 3 assists and 2 boards in 10 minutes, I think were instrumental in that win. Also, you have Fiebig and Sabali, who suited up for Germany, both players playing in the quarterfinals. We'll see how fatigue plays on this roster. I don't think it's going to bother them too much. And the stars will continue to shine bright. And maybe this will mean Jonquel Jones can get some more shots up. But that's not a bad option to have. I expect New York to continue leading the East and will be a serious threat to get back to the finals. They have that finals vengeance on their mind, and that could be the difference. The 3-headed beast of Sabrina Ionescu had to rock her jersey again, 19.8 point game, 6 dimes a game, and 4.4 rebounds. Breanna Stewart, like, 0.1 behind Ionescu in scoring. She's got 8.8 rebounds per game, 3.9 assists, 2 steals, and a block and a half per game. And like I said, Jonquel Jones, 15 points per game, almost 9 rebounds per game. Maybe those numbers will go up. The Liberty came out, they went across the country to come out of the break playing Los Angeles Sparks, and they jumped on a huge first quarter lead, outscoring the Sparks by 19 in the first, and outscoring them by 10 to have almost a 30-point lead going into halftime. And the Team USA players excelled. No fatigue there. Stewart finishing with a game-high 27 points. Ionescu had 18.6 dimes. Kayla Thornton, who was really shooting it lights out before the break, kept that momentum going, getting 16 off the bench. Easy win for them. They head into Vegas for their next game in a fun back matchup, riding that 5-game winning streak, taking on the Aces in last year's rematch, a rematch of last year's WNBA finals. So very interesting to see how the Liberty come out of that. They then return home for a 3-game stretch, so nothing easy on the current league leaders. Continuing to stay out east, the team with the second best record in the league, the Connecticut Sun, sitting at 18-6 going into the break. The Sun dropped 2 of 3 heading into the Olympic pause. Granted, 2 of those losses came to the before-mentioned Liberty. It must have been enough to spook the front office a bit, because the Sun made a trade with the Chicago Sky, acquiring Marina Mabry and a 2025 second-round pick in exchange for Mariah Jefferson, Rachel Banham, a 2025 first-round pick, and a pick swap for 2026. It's a pretty big move to be happening in the middle of the season, and it shows the Sun are thinking title now. Mabry's averaging 14 points per game and 4.5 assists with the Sky. And our first look at Mabry in Sun colors was at the All-Star game, when she participated in the skills challenge and three-point shootout. And it'll be interesting to see how she merges with this talented group. Alyssa Thomas was the only player from the club to play in the Olympics. She won a gold medal with Team USA. But I feel the triple-double machine will be ready to go. Her partner, Duana Bonner, continues to lead the Sun in scoring, averaging 16.7 per game while grabbing 6.3 rebounds. And the Suns they've been successful with this balanced attack they rock. Brianna Jones, 13.3 points per game, 5.2 rebounds. Defensive star Dejanay Carrington, 12.9 points per game and 5.2 rebounds per game. Like, when she adds that scoring punch to her already amazing defense, this team really clicks. And that allows Alyssa Thomas only average 11.4 points per game. They don't need as much scoring from her. But she's still getting 9.2 rebounds per game and a 7.6 assists per game. Like I said, flirting with a triple-double almost every game. The Sun return the regular season play today, when they take on the Dallas Wings. And they continue their short little road trip into Atlanta to take on the Dream after the game against the Wings. The Sun then return for a 2-game homestand, including a game with the Sky, where there'll be a kind of a reuniting of recently traded players. So the Sun will be in the playoffs and probably hosting games, but do they have enough to win a WNBA championship? That's to be seen. Staying out east, the next team up in the standings with the 7th best record in the league. I'm talking about the Indiana Fever. 4 games under 500 and 11-15 entering the Olympic pause. The Fever were pretty up and down entering the break, beating the Mercury and Lynx before losing to the Wings. They only had 1 player on the rosters in the Olympics. Wing player Christy Wallace suited up for Australia in the Summer Games, bringing home a bronze medal with them. So with the break in the action, all the Caitlin Clark fans, with their withdrawals, they finally get to see their girl back in action. I'm thinking the time off will have benefited her greatly. She was looking run down a bit there, and as her returning with fellow All-Stars Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell, that should really have this team making a run, I think. Caitlin Clark narrowly leads the team in scoring at 17.1, leading the league in assists at 8.2 assists per game while grabbing 5.8 rebounds. Her 5.6 turnovers are way too high. I'm thinking she's going to rein that in a bit. Kelsey Mitchell just behind Clark at 16.9 per game in scoring. Aaliyah Boston with 14.2 and 8.7 rebounds while blocking 1.5 a game. And we can't forget about Nalissa Smith. She's like an unsung hero on this team, bringing a real physical demeanor, averaging 11.6 points per game and 7.7 boards. The schedules aren't taking it easy on the Fever, just like early in the season. They host 2 tough teams at home, starting today when they host the Mercury, followed by another game at home when they host the Storm. They then go on a 2-game road trip, and this team's sitting in a playoff spot currently, and it'll be tough to maintain it, but I think this is a team we want to see in the playoffs. Just behind the Fever, in the Chicago Sky, 8th best record in the WNBA, 10-15 now. They dropped 2 games in a row to the Liberty before bouncing back and beating the Aces going into the All-Star break. They didn't have anybody on the roster go to the Olympics, although after the games, rookie Angel Reese was reaching out to Gabby Williams on social media saying it'd be good to have her back in Chicago. In the Connecticut Sun portion, I may mention the trade involving the Sky. Their new players made their debut in the Sky's first game back, a home game against the Phoenix Mercury yesterday. And the Sky had a disastrous start to the game, falling behind to the Mercury early. Newcomer Rachel Banham hit some nice outside shots, finishing with only 7 points on the night. Rookie Angel Reese got her double-double, 11 points and 15 rebounds, but the leading scorer was Dana Evans off the bench with 14. Kennedy Carter missed the game due to an ankle due sorry. Kennedy Carter missed the game due to an ankle injury she picked up in a scrimmage last week. That was a big loss in the game against Phoenix, and it will continue to hurt the Sky if she's not in the game. Kennedy Carter is the leading scorer of the Sky, 17.2 points per game. Angel Reese continues to average a double-double, which is just insane for a rookie in the WNBA. 13.4 points per game, 11.9 rebounds, which is among the league's best. 12 rebounds per game now, sorry, after her last game. I kind of expected more out of Camila Cardoso this season. I know she had a slow start to the season, but I thought she'd have a bigger impact than this, closer to what Angel Reese is doing. So I'm interested to see how she plays out the rest of the season. And I mentioned some of those players involved in that trade. Rachel Banham, she's had some really hot shooting nights for the Sun this season. I like that, and that draft pick is nice. The loss of Marina Mabry is big, and it really showed against Phoenix, but it seemed like she had a falling out with head coach Teresa Weatherspoon, and the change of scenery could be beneficial to both teams. Gets Mabry somewhere new, and an old addition by subtraction by having other players step up for Chicago. But this team, they're going to have to get this chemistry going on the fly. They hold on to the last playoff spot. And just like the Fever, I think this is a team we'd like to see in the playoffs. But they did just get smoked by the Mercury. Now they go on a 3-game road trip in big games coming out of the break. We'll see. I think there's bigger things at stake for these clubs than the worry about the Rookie of the Year to debate between the two teams. Like, they got to worry about making the playoffs. But next in the Eastern Conference, ninth place, 3 games back of the Sky for the last playoff spot, the Atlanta Dream, sitting at 7-17. They're dealing with some injuries, mainly to Jordan Canada and Ryan Howard, and they went in the Olympic break on an 8-game losing streak. The break really couldn't have come at a better time for the team. Ryan Howard was injured, but she was healthy enough to go to represent Team USA on the 3-on-3 basketball team, where they didn't live up to the previous games, getting a gold by only getting a bronze. But they fought hard. They started off slow, and for them to beat the adversity and get a bronze, that was really good on them. And another member of the Dream went to the Olympics, Canadian Letitia Amir. She went, and like I said earlier, Canada didn't have their best outing, going 0-3 in group play, but she got some time and looked good while she was out there. And as this Atlanta team gets healthy again, they'll be looking to get back in the winning column. Won't be easy, though. The Dream opened the last stage of the regular season, hosting the Storm. Then they host the Sun and the Mercury twice, so that doesn't look like an easy way to end an 8-game losing streak. But this team, they're, like I said, with these players coming back, they can maybe reel off some wins, and the playoffs are not totally unreachable, so we'll see what happens there. We wrap up the East by going to the Washington Mystics, who are the 12th worst record in the WNBA, 6-20. The Mystics have had a tough season, and they entered the Olympic break on a 2-game losing streak. They did send a few players to the Olympics, though. Rookie out of UConn, Canadian Aaliyah Edwards, went to represent Canada at the games. 31-year-old rookie who I mentioned earlier, Julie Van Loo, represented Belgium. I love watching her represent Belgium. She's a baller out there. And the youngest player in the WNBA, 21-year-old Jade Melbourne, represented the bronze medal winning Australia team. And I wonder if there's any bad blood between Van Loo and Melbourne in the locker room after their bronze medal bout. But the Mystics returned the play yesterday, and they had their first game back on the road in Minnesota to take on the tough Lynx team. And this game went back and forth. Some close moments in the fourth where it looked like it could have went either way, but the Lynx flexed their muscle late and pulled off the win. Ariel Atkins led a balanced attack for the Mystics with 12 points, and the Olympians returned and contributed in different ways. Aaliyah Edwards had 9 points in 18 minutes. Van Loo, 2 boards and 2 dimes as she went scoreless in 15 minutes. And Jade Melbourne, instant offense off the bench, 10 points in 9 minutes. This team's going to be trying to play for next season. I expect games to be like tryouts to see who's going to be on the roster. But don't look at this team on your schedule and think, oh, that's a win. Or you might walk home with an L. This team is exciting to watch, and I'm intrigued to see how they play out the season. But we leave the East. We go to the West. Starting the team with the best record in the West, the Minnesota Lynx. Their 18-8 record's good enough for third in the WNBA right now. And I keep saying it that way with, the conference standing isn't as important as the overall standing, because in the WNBA, the top 8 teams in the league make it to the playoffs, regardless of conference. So that's why I act like offspring and I keep them separated just for now. But we'll go back to the Lynx. Just before the break, they dropped the game to the Fever, but bounced back and beat the struggling Atlanta Dream to enter the break on a winning note. A lot of Lynx players, and even a coach took the trip to France for the Olympics. Superstar Nafisa Collier was a big part of Team USA securing the gold, and so was head coach, Team USA head coach Cheryl Reeve, adding a gold medal to her list of coaching accomplishments. Chatham, Ontario's own Bridget Carleton went to the Olympics to represent Canada. And again, Canada did not live up to expectations, but Carleton played pretty well and was named MVP of the team. And surprisingly, one of the best Olympic performers was Australia's Alana Smith. She played phenomenal for the Opals and helped the team bring home the bronze medal. I mentioned she even made the tournament's top 5 team. She's stepped up her game this year, and her jump and play could really help bring a WNBA championship back to the team, who does have the most WNBA titles. The Lynx' 6 are the most by any franchise, but they haven't won since 2017. And the Lynx returned to play with that tough game against the Mystics I alluded to, and where clutch plays down the stretch by Collier and Kayla McBride really made the difference late. Collier finished with a double-double. She led the balance scoring Lynx with 17 points, 12 boards. 3 other Lynx starters reached double figures, Courtney Williams 14, while Smith and McBride each had 12. It's good to see more of Diamond Miller on the floor as well. She missed a lot of time to start the season and started to get some time in before the break. It's her second season, and she could be a difference maker coming up big games down the road for the Lynx. Like I said, Collier continues to lead this team, averaging a double-double, 19.9 points per game, 10.3 rebounds per game. Kayla McBride second in scoring with 16.2. Alana Smith at 11.5 per game. And Courtney Williams just under double digits at 9.9. But she's dishing out 5.5 dimes and grabbing 4.6 rebounds per game. This is a tough team that sits atop a very tough Western Conference. Next up in the West is a team that currently has the 4th best record in the WNBA, the Seattle Storm. The Storm are right behind the Lynx with a 17-8 record, and the Storm are cruising into the break, winning 3 in a row, crushing the Lynx and beating the Dream and the Sparks. The Storm had some players head over to Paris for the Olympics, like leading scorer Jewel Lloyd, who is a big part of the Team USA gold medal winning team, and 2 other Storm players represented Australia. As mentioned before, I didn't know if Australia would take home that bronze medal if it wasn't for the dominant performance of Ezi Magbagor in that game. And veteran shooter Sammy Wickham was massive for the Opals as well. They were 2 reasons why Australia took that bronze. Now the team has come back together, and they have their first regular season game on the road in Atlanta to take on the Dream. The Dream are dying for a win, and I don't think the Storm are going to take it easy on them. I mentioned Lloyd. She still leads the team with 20 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, and 4 dimes per game. Her scoring has dipped from last year when she led the league, but she has so much more help now. Nneka Ogwumike, she's averaging 17.4 points per game, 7.7 rebounds. Skylar Diggins-Smith, 13 points per game, 6.5 dimes. And you can all talk enough about Magbagor, averaging 13 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, and 2.4 blocks. There's a reason why Asia Wilson referred to the Storm as a super team earlier in the season. And as we continue in the West, we continue with tough teams. 5th best record in the WNBA, the defending back-to-back WNBA champions, the Las Vegas Aces. They fell to the sky leading into the Olympic break, but they have a few key players on the roster that went to play for Team USA, and I think they were kind of looking ahead a bit. Team USA plucked 4 players from the Aces to go to the 2024 games. Obviously, Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum, and Chelsea Gray all represented the red, white, and blue and brought home a gold medal. In the gold medal game, Jackie Young did foul out, but Kelsey Plum made some clutch baskets late, and Asia Wilson did Asia Wilson things. Like with the Olympic Games, winning the Olympic Games MVP. They weren't the only representatives, though. Megan Gustafson played for Spain and had some good outings for Spain. Tiffany Hayes played for Azerbaijan on their 3x3 basketball teams. The latter 2 players didn't pick up any medals, but they did get to play at the highest stage in the Summer Games. The Aces now return to regular season play, and they have a doozy. A matinee with last year's WNBA finalists. And we know how ready the Liberty are. They just smoked the Sparks last night and have a 5-game winning streak, so this could be some must-see TV. A band of players who came together to win gold are now enemies, both vying for a WNBA championship, and you gotta love it. I won't dive into Asia Wilson too much, because we might get to her later when we talk about trophies, but she's the best player on the planet right now. And let's have a look at her numbers. 27.2 points per game, 12 rebounds, 2.9 blocks, and 1.9 steals per game. She leads the Aces in all of those stats. Jackie Young's averaging 18.5 points per game, 5.5 assists, and 4.7 rebounds. And fellow Olympian Kelsey Plum averaging 18.4 points per game and 4.7 dimes. Those big three are always ready to go, and either Hayes, Gray, or Clark step up when there's a fourth needed. Gray was injured most of the season before the Olympics, so I don't think she's still 100% yet, but she's getting there. And this team has already lost more games than they did last year when they won the title, but they're more than capable of becoming the first team to three-peat since the Houston Comets did it way back when the WNBA was first created. So as we go down the Western Conference standings, you can see how tight the West is, and the team with the sixth best record in the WNBA are the Phoenix Mercury. Sitting at 14 and 12, the Mercury are fresh off a win, winning their first post-game break, crushing the Sky by 20. And no break for this team as they face the Indiana Fever today before taking on the Sky again this weekend. The Mercury had three players from their roster go to the Olympics, and they all represented Team USA. Kalia Copper probably had the biggest impact. Her clutch buckets in the gold medal game against France were massive. I spoke how important I felt Sabrina Ionescu was coming into that game in the third, but probably the biggest American hero down the stretch was Kyle Copper. She is so clutch and she makes tough baskets, reminding everyone why she was the finals MVP for the Sky back in 2021. Brittany Griner didn't have the biggest tournament as I thought she'd have, but she looked really emotional accepting the gold, and we could understand why. She was imprisoned in Russia not that long ago. So coming back, winning a gold medal for the country, is you could see the emotion on her face. Great to see that. Diana Taurasi, she didn't even suit up in the gold medal game, but the iconic women basketball player picked up her sixth gold medal, which is the most by any player ever, any basketball player, male or female. And she passed her good friend Sue Bird along the way. And she even joked about it after, saying her and Bird scored the same amount of points in that game. But her veteran leadership was very important to the team, and all the people saying, oh, she should have been replaced, she didn't even play. You need someone that can be that veteran leader and can sit there and be okay with it. Look how much has been coming up about Jason Tatum not getting time in the men's team. So I think if you replaced her with someone else, they would have sat, and then it would have just brought up more drama. So I think it's great, and they won the gold medal. Congrats to the woman's GOAT there. All she does is win. So now the Mercury are back. They seem like they're healthy, and they can be scary. There's a few teams that can come out of the West, and there's no reason why you can't say the Mercury can be one of them. Copper leads the team with 23.4 points per game. Griner averaging 18.9 points per game, 6.6 boards, and 1.6 blocks. The veteran Taurasi is averaging 15.9 per game, although her assists are a little down. Natasha Cloud kind of goes under the radar on this team, but she'll be integral to postseason success. She's doing it while distributing at a high rate, 12 points per game, 7.2 dimes per game, 4.3 rebounds. You have the sharpshooting of Sophie Cunningham, the aggressive defense of Rebecca Allen and Natasha Mack. Like I said, this team can compete with anyone. But we'll go further down the Western Conference standings. The teams under 500 and are looking at the playoffs from the outside right now. The team with the 10th best record in the WNBA, the 6-19 Los Angeles Sparks. Sparks lost to the Storm entering the break, and just yesterday lost to the Liberty coming out, and it wasn't a small loss. Liberty beating the Sparks by 35 points. Sparks had a few players go to the Olympics. Rookie Cameron Brink was slated to represent Team USA in 3-on-3 basketball, but after she tore her ACL, we knew that was not happening. We knew that wasn't happening, sorry. Her teammate De'Erica Hamby stepped up and played for the team, winning a bronze in the event. Kia Nurse represented Canada at the Olympics and really had a disappointing showing. It was a bummer to see, as I'm a big Kia Nurse fan, but like I said, hopefully Canada can grow from that tournament, go into the next Olympics. I don't know if Nurse will be on that squad, but we'll see. Hopefully she is. Stephanie Talbot made big-time plays for Australia, including a late block against Belgium as she helped the team clinch bronze. China's Li Yiru got to represent her country at the games. A 25-year-old still shows flashes of what she can become. Hopefully she can tap into that. So coming out of the break, I mentioned the shellacking the Sparks took from the Liberty, losing 103-68. Not an ideal way to start the last stages of the season, but this roster is dealing with tons of injuries. Right now, I mentioned Brink being done for the year with that ACL. Lexi Brown's dealing with Crohn's. Two contributing players are battling foot injuries. Talbot, who I just mentioned with Australia, has been battling a foot injury, and a big concern now for Ari McDonald. She's been great when she's been in the lineup for the Sparks, so hopefully she can come back soon. But it's time now for the players to try and establish their future with the club. We know De'Erica Hamby is a double-double machine. She's the Sparks' most reliable option, but as the team grows on the fly, I think it's time to give Rakea Jackson a lot more touches. Let her cook. Same mentality with Ray Burrell. She led the Sparks in scoring with 15 coming off the bench in that blowout to the Liberty. We know injuries have really beaten up this team, but let's see what other players can do. I mentioned Hamby. She leads the team with 19 points per game and 10.1 rebounds per game. One of only 4 players in the WNBA averaging a double-double. Now, I've mentioned the other 3 throughout the show. Can you recall who? The other 3 are Asia Wilson, Nafisa Collier, and rookie Angel Reese. So pretty good group there. Azura Stevens has only played in 5 games this season for LA, but she's averaging 12.8 points per game and 7.8 rebounds in that short time. Rookie Rakia Jackson, 11.5 points per game. I hope she can get some more touches, as I said. Ari McDonald leading the team with 4 dimes per game while averaging 9.3. Hopefully she's not out, and if she is, who's going to step up in that absence? Wrapping up our team breakdowns, we go to the Dallas Wings, who have the 11th best record in the WNBA, tied with the Sparks at 6-19. The Wings have dealt with injuries most of the season leading into the break, but did manage to beat the Fever in a high-scoring affair before the season pause. I mentioned how Arike Agumbawale had won the MVP of the All-Star game, and it made up for not making the Team USA team. And the only player to play for their country in the Olympics was Satu Sabale. She missed all the WNBA season leading up to the Olympic break, dealing with an injury, but she did manage to make it in time to play for Germany. And she balled out. In one game against Japan, she had 33 points. The great news for Dallas, Sabale is coming back to the club. More good news, injured Maddie Sigrist, she's coming back. Rookie Jaylen Brown, all returning to the lineup. This team has literally been beaten up all season. It's nice to see the team come back together. Despite that ridiculous start to the season, the Wings only sit 4 games back of the Sky for that last playoff spot. So we'll see if this team can gel quickly. The Wings will be tested early, though. They host the Sun tonight in their first post-break game. They then have 2 straight games against the Liberty, who, like I said, are the best team in the league right now. Agumbawale continues to lead the team in scoring with 22.3 points, 5.2 assists, and 4.8 rebounds per game. Odyssey Sims really found her stroke before the break and is averaging 17 points per game and 5.6 assists in her 9 games played. Tara McCowan has really tried to hold down the middle, scoring 11.4 points per game and 7.3 boards. The return of Natasha Howard from injury really helped as she averages 16.6 per game points and 6.8 rebounds per game. But getting Maddie Sigrist in that 14.6 points per game is huge. And we've only seen Jaylen Brown, the rookie, for 19 minutes this season. So I'm excited to see what this team can do. Obviously, Satu Sabale, the winner of last year's Most Improved Player, she's something else. And if this team can get gelling, they could make the playoffs, and they could really surprise someone. So the Dallas Wings, like I said, Arike Agumbawale is one of my favorite players to watch, and even more reason to watch the Wings and end the season here. So there are your teams, and how's your team looking right now? We'll see how the season wraps up. But before we do, I have to predict who's going to get the individual awards. Some of them are a little easier than others. For MVP of the season, it's a shoe-in for me. Las Vegas Aces superstar Asia Wilson. She's killing it everywhere she goes. Here, France, wherever you put her, she's going to light it up. First woman to get a 99 rating on 2K. This is an easy choice for me. She did not like how her Team USA teammate Brianna Stewart won the award last year, and she's a little fueled by that, it seems. A 2-time MVP winner will soon be a 3-time MVP winner. And for Defensive Player of the Year, we're not going far. We're going right back to Asia Wilson. Leading the league in blocks, 2.9 per game. Tied for 4th in steals with 1.9. Those numbers don't include the time she's locked people down or scared shooters away from throwing up a shot in the paint. If Wilson doesn't take home the Defensive Player of the Year, I'd be surprised. But if she does, she'll be the first player ever to win it 3 years in a row. She'll join Cheryl Swoops for 3rd all-time. And she'll be behind Sylvia Fowles, who's 2nd with 4, and legend Tamika Catchings, who has the most with 5. For Most Improved Player, I'm thinking Kennedy Carter. You heard me talking about in the Chicago Sky portion, and she's really showing what she can do. She started on the bench to start the season, worked her way into the lineup, and even to the point that they've made Marina Mabry expendable. And I think a big part of it is, unlike Mabry, who kind of fell out with Weatherspoon, Kennedy Carter has got the trust of Teresa Weatherspoon. It seems like the trust of a coach is what she's kind of lacked in the league. So I think Carter deserves that award, and I hope she gets it. For Coach of the Year, I think it's got to go the team with the best record right now, and the New York Liberty have been dominating, so I'm thinking recent bronze medal winner coaching Australia, Sandy Brondello, she's got to take it home. The Liberty, they look like a team that wants to get back to the finals since they lost it to the Aces last year, and Brondello was a big part of that. If she does take home the award, it will be the second time in her career. She's also won the Coach of the Year in 2014 when she was coaching the Phoenix Mercury to a WNBA championship. Now for Rookie of the Year, the trophy that is perhaps the most debatable, and it's got debate with hate behind it when depending who you talk to. I think it's going to be a tight race. And going into the Olympic break, I think Angela Reese had it. She's the front runner by a nose hair. And coming out of the break, despite a bad shooting night and a loss, she did get another double-double. Her offensive rebounding is insane. There are some shots in the paint. She's got to balance herself a little more and get up a better shot. But her knack to get the offensive rebounding is crazy. To be tied with A'ja Wilson, who I said is a shoo-in for the MVP, to be tied with her with rebounding as a rookie is absolutely insane. So I think she's still got the slight edge right now, but I think she's not going to have it much longer. Because as well as Reese is coming to the league with her rebounding, Clark is doing that on the distribution side of things. Her 8.2 assists per game leads the WNBA, and if she can lead the league in assists her rookie campaign, she'd become the first rookie to do so since Teacher Penichiro did it with the Sacramento Monarchs back in 1998. And that was the first of 6 consecutive seasons leading the WNBA in assists per game, which makes me think, let's put a little more respect on Teacher Penichiro's name. She's in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, but there's no reason why she's not in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. But anyway, back to Caitlin Clark. She's averaging 17 points per game, which is good for 13th in the league. Her turnovers, which I mentioned earlier, are pretty bad. 5.6 per game is 2 per game higher than the next person, Alyssa Thomas. But by season's end, I see that number dropping a bit while her assists continue to rise. This battle may come down to which team has a better record at the end of the season, and I think the Fever will finish with a slightly better record than the Sky, and I think Caitlin Clark takes home Rookie of the Year, which will split half of the country, but I think it's well-deserved, and it's a tight race. I hope people just like both these players and can learn to like both and not hate the shit out of one or the other. But that's just my take on that. I'm loving to see the battles out there, and it's going to be tight. That trophy could switch hands a few times throughout the year before it is given out. But there you have it. You're all caught up on the WNBA. We'll see how things play out the rest of the season with only 1 month to go. We'll see how the playoff picture plays out, and if the Aces can get that elusive third straight WNBA championship. I don't know. The West is so stacked. Like I said, the Lynx, the Storm, the Mercury, Aces, any of those teams can make it out of the West, and they might beat each other up so much that the Liberty can take it in the East. Or maybe the Liberty fall apart in the East Final or something and lose to a Connecticut Sun team. But personally, I think we're going to have a rematch of the finals. We're going to have the Liberty and the Aces. The Liberty are going to come in with the best record in the league, probably. And they're going to be like, we're going to avenge this. We're going to win our title. But A'ja Wilson and the Aces will win in the finals, winning the three-peat. One of the best players in WNBA history. I think it's fair enough. It's not too early that we can say that about A'ja Wilson. So we'll see what happens. But keep your eyes on other sports if you want. Check out Sports and Shorts of Sorts, episode 73. It's on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Episode 74 coming out after the weekend. Lots going on. We have the return of European footy. It's going to be great. Can't wait. But thanks again for tuning in. Make sure you watch this WNBA going down. Like I said, a month left before we're in the playoffs. Lots of good games to be played. Ren City out.